Wait, what? A pilot not familiar with the flight system?
Sounds unbelievable, right? But when we look at historical data on plane crashes, one number keeps coming up again and again: human error. Depending on how you define and categorize it, reports from big names like Boeing, Airbus, and the International Civil Aviation Organization, or ICAO, all agree on one thing. Human factors are the leading cause of fatal plane accidents, responsible for 50 to 70% of them. Now, let's be clear. Pilot error doesn't mean someone simply forgot to press a switch or dozed off in the cockpit. It covers much more complex situations, like loss of control in flight, controlled flight into terrain, poor decision-making under pressure, poor cockpit resource management, fatigue or high stress affecting judgment. So, to reduce these human-related mistakes, modern aircraft have introduced advanced automation. Computers now handle a huge part of the flight, from takeoff and cruising to landing. Pilots mostly supervise the systems, which helps reduce workload and increase safety. But there are downsides to this automation revolution. 1. Over-reliance on automation leads to loss of manual flying skills. Since computers do most of the flying, pilots get fewer chances to practice basic flying manually. When something unexpected happens and they need to take over, they might struggle with a system they haven't flown by hand in a long time. 2. Automation surprise. Imagine this. The autopilot suddenly disconnects or behaves in an unexpected way. The pilot goes, "Wait, what? What is it doing?" This confusion can delay the response, or worse, lead to a wrong one. High-tech cockpits equals info overload. Modern cockpits are full of digital screens and alerts. In an emergency, warning sounds and flashing lights can become overwhelming. Filtering out the right info quickly becomes a real challenge. 4. Even with thorough testing, aircraft software can still fail, especially in rare, unpredictable edge cases. When that happens, pilots have to deal with a machine doing something they didn't expect and maybe weren't trained for.
A real-life example that shows all of these issues in action is the crash of Air France Flight 447 in 2009, which tragically killed all 228 people on board. On June 1, 2009, AF447, an Airbus A330-200, a modern and highly automated aircraft similar to the Boeing 787, was flying from Rio de Janeiro to Paris. While crossing the Atlantic, it hit a thunderstorm. The external speed sensors, called pitot tubes, froze, sending incorrect airspeed data to the plane systems. By design, when unreliable speed data is detected, the autopilot disconnects and the aircraft switches to manual mode. It also gives visual and audio alerts to the pilots, a built-in safety protocol that hands control back to the humans. At that moment, the captain was resting and the two co-pilots were in charge. One of them responded incorrectly. He pulled the control stick all the way back and held it there. That action caused the plane to enter a deep aerodynamic stall. Basically, the wings weren't getting enough airflow to keep the plane in the air. The plane systems gave stall warnings again and again, but in the confusion, under pressure, and possibly because they didn't fully understand how stalls behave at high altitude, the pilots didn't recognize the situation or respond correctly. What they should have done? Push the nose down to regain speed. What they actually did? Keep pulling back, worsening the stall. Eventually, the captain returned to the cockpit, but the communication between the three pilots broke down. The pilot flying didn't clearly explain what he was doing, and the others didn't realize what was wrong, or couldn't step in fast enough to fix it. The result? The plane remained in a stall for nearly 4 full minutes, falling from 38,000 feet into the Atlantic Ocean, killing everyone on board. It became one of the worst non-terrorism, non-engine failure crashes in aviation history.
The tragedy led to a wave of changes in the aviation industry. More manual flight training to ensure pilots don't lose basic flying skills. UPRT, upset prevention and recovery training, teaching how to detect and recover from dangerous flight conditions like stalls. Stronger focus on cockpit resource management, or CRM, encouraging teamwork, open communication, and the ability to challenge decisions when needed. Technology is a co-pilot, not a replacement. Automation, and in the future, maybe even AI, isn't meant to replace pilots. It's there to assist them. But for that partnership to work, pilots must keep their skills sharp, stay calm under pressure, and make good decisions in unexpected situations. Because in aviation, safety doesn't come from technology alone. It comes from the collaboration between people and machines.
Like and subscribe to Tinyfy for more short and sweet explorations of the world around us. See you in the next video.